Welcome. My name is Jane Trigere. I'm here with Guillermo Cuellar, and we are in Leverett, Massachusetts, in the Barnes Gallery of the Leverett Crafts and Arts Center. Surrounding us is an exhibit by Guillermo and his wife, Dale Schwarz, and it is called Yes, Life is Art. So today, I will turn to Guillermo and say, welcome, and can you tell us, please, what you want to say about this exhibit?
Well, the name of the exhibit tells a lot about what the exhibit is about. Yes, life is art. And it's a different concept about art. This exhibit shows all the different pieces of art that I did through the last 3 years as I was diagnosed with cancer. And the first 2 years I didn't have cancer. After surgery and radiation, I was what they call cancer-free for 2 years. But then on the 2.5 years later on, I was diagnosed with stage 4, with a sarcoma, which is a complicated and very unique type of cancer. So there's really no real cure that, per se, saying, we'll do this and this will help. So I was in the midst of the turmoil of learning about medical procedures and trying to use every skill that I ever had to be able to manage myself, manage the medical system, be with my friends, receive all the support that I needed. So this exhibit shows that process of how art became a medium to create perspective, a medium to create healing in myself. And we're all going to die, but then what is the question? What is healing? What healing is your state of mind. And that is what this exhibit is about. Yes, life is art.
You are professionally a therapist.
That too.
So you are very well equipped to be doing this project, yes, as well as an artist.
I was a biologist, and then I became an artist. Art and biology was my undergraduate, both combined. Then I went into counseling psychology for my master's, and then in organizational development, or a form of industrial or organizational psychology, for my doctorate degree. I created a model, it's called the life learning model, which is connected to the approaches that we have towards life, either through fear or through love. This came to me after my radiation oncologist told me that the radiation has worked, that it was reducing the size of the tumor. And I had a dream, and this is the dream. And the dream is this woman flying down on a bicycle, on a parasail, landing next to me and skidding the bicycle. And I was so excited to see her dexterity that I just did, job well done. So this image is that. The name of it is Job Well Done. It's a very meaningful painting for somebody that thought that I was not going to be able to make it into this world again. Most of the paintings that I do come from imagination, based on some form of reality.
Yes.
I don't sit and, well, I do that too. I do models and I sit and do exercises of painting reality. But these paintings are not from a real place.
They're all from your imagination.
They're copies, they're collages of my brain.
Okay.
So let me show you another one that is very connected to this, which is this one right here. This paint I call Reflections, and they're very different from any other painting that I've done, like this one or that other one, in which is landscape. There's a lot of greens, there's contrast between green and reds. This is oranges, blues, and blacks. Very different palette, very different, it's almost abstract. Inspired by, in Easton, by the flats in Cape Cod. Originally had the sun in the middle, but I covered it as something that actually was more strong or stronger than the sun. But when I showed this painting to my radiation oncologist, She said, oh my God, this is incredible. When we do the planning for the radiation, we use exactly the same colors. This looks like one of the images, yes, and I put it there. One of the images that we use in the computer to figure it out. So this life is art. The expression of this painting, which took me about 6 months to make, or probably a little longer, was a set of reflections between myself and what's going on. And I didn't understand why I depart so drastically from what I was doing. But now, in retrospect, after she told me that, I made the connection. I was painting the radiation.
So we're going back to this one now.
So she, this woman here, that you can see, could be my radiation oncologist, could be my soul, some part that is higher than myself, that descends from some other unknown place. It could be also my wife, the caregiver, and job well done. And the bicycle also represents the dissertation work that I did between love and fear. And the two cycles that are represented on a bicycle.
Oh, the two cycles.
The two cycles, the cycle of creative cycle and the survival cycle, or the cycle of fear.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, we are born with this amazing creative spirit. At the same time, we need to use some of that creative spirit to figure it out how to fit into society, be obedient kids, learn how to survive our families, our countries, our schools, our bullies, survive leadership, survive challenges that life gives. So we're equipped to survive. But survival is not enough, because it's based on having to live, the necessity to live. But the love to live is the creative. So one thing is to have to live because the things you have to do versus the thing that you want to do. And we all struggle with that. So the creative
So you have the two, the bicycle represents the going back and forth between the two?
Well, it's a bicycle. We have to learn how to ride a bicycle. And we make creative choices.
That's the front wheel.
That's the front wheel. And the back wheel propels us.
That's the workhorse.
That's the workhorse. And it's also, but the person that rides the bicycle is really our spirit. And that's, for me, the symbolism of this painting, is what drove me now to be here, even I thought that I was not going to be here.
Well, there's an interesting thing about bicycles, is that you can't balance yourself unless you're moving.
That's the famous quote from Albert Einstein.
Oh, did I quote Albert Einstein?
Yes,
my goodness.
you did.
Oh.
Life is like a bicycle. Balance is like life is like a bicycle. In order to stay balanced, you have to keep moving.
Right. Right. So this is very key.
See, and these paintings take longer to make and require more reflection time. I have also the sketchbook, which makes things more immediate and quicker.
We're going to move on to look at that.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay.
Good.
So, Guillermo, are we moving into this section? Looks to me like a sketchbook section.
Yeah, I actually name it Timeline.
Timeline.
Because really this section has part of the sketchbooks and part of many, many drawings that I've done through this process in 3 years. So it starts with part of the radiation, the original radiation and surgery 3 years ago, and ends up in this section, which has to do with almost the day-to-day log, so to speak, with images of, and also words of the different treatments that I received, the reactions from my body, my psychological reactions, my emotional reactions, all of this.
This does not look like a pleasant day here.
It's challenging times, but the writing is the name of prednisone. It just happens that I'm allergic to prednisone, and my intestines stopped functioning after they gave me the first treatment, or actually one of the treatments for the chemotherapy. And so that explains the way that I was feeling and how things were shutting down, and I'm going down this, down the basement,
someplace not pleasant.
Some place that was not pleasant.
You going to take us through a little bit?
This one is more about the effects of another drug and the mental distortions and lack of perspective and obsessive behaviors that I got into.
Oh.
This one represents also the practice of meditation.
This is called refuge.
This is called the refuge, and that represents that ability of many, many years of learning Vipassana meditation, of how to be accepting what is and see the transformative nature of what happens in the body. I mean, if I'm scared of something and I just feel it, the fear doesn't stay as fear. It turns into something really pleasant. And this one is another one which has to do with the difficult times, the many mishaps, I call it, of the different treatments that didn't work. And the image of this wiry being that is desperate for something. It's really clear how I was feeling that particular day.
Yes, it is very clear.
There is a quote from Pablo Picasso that I use quite a bit. It says, all art are just self-portraits.
Yes.
Because all expression just expresses what's inside. And there is another quote saying, that art is just the blind mind, the blind man skill. Because all what we paint is our feelings, not what we see.
I see.
So these are my feelings. This one, I call it boundaries. There's a point when you're confronted with the medical profession, with technicians, with therapists, with social workers, with other doctors, the managing who I am in relationship to all these people that apparently know more than I do about what's wrong with me. I have to manage that, and that is a challenge. And so this image is called boundaries, represents the realization that I needed to be really clear with myself. And even when I didn't know, I needed to get clear about what I didn't know. And so that process of finding information, getting consult, finding social support by friends, by medical establishment, by people was very important. At the same time, I needed to be very discriminatory about what I let in and what I didn't let in. And that's why this one is called boundaries. And it has a blue glow that symbolizes the way that I imagine myself being connected to myself and paying attention and being true to myself. And this other one, the name of this one is Take It or Die. And that basically was what doctors were telling me, especially the chemotherapy. Take this. The problem with the kind of cancer that I have is that there is no proof of any of the drugs that everybody was offering to have any significant value in the kind of cancer that I have. So Take It or Die was the approach. But then at the middle there is this image of me, the little one with boundaries. And I experiment with some and other ones. I experiment with the chemotherapy, but that is going to take me to the next part, which is very interesting, which has to do with the little cards that I made. And the little cards are very significant because those are kind of the principles that I use to move through all of this. These cards actually were inspired by Kelly Turner, and she wrote a book. It's called Radical Remission, and it's based on her interviews for many people that did not come back to treatment. So she researched their practices that they did, and inspired by her book and the many stories in the book, I made these cards. But these cards came in a crucial moment. I started doing these cards when I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And at that time, the book just came on my lap by a friend of mine, says, read this book, and I read it and I was really impressed. But the cards was my response to the book. So I made a series of cards about the different practices. One, for example, is release suppressed emotions. and I call it letting go. This one is called trust your intuition. This one is called have a strong reason to live. This one is deepen your spiritual practice, whatever they are. For me, it's meditation. Embrace healing. Embrace social support, really important. There's all of those.
Radical change of diet.
Absolutely, I totally did that. So I follow everything on that book. And maybe it's working, maybe it's not working, but I'm here. So that may be
I know
proof.
what you mean.
There's other cards here which are very interesting. And these are the actual drugs or treatments that actually worked. Let me start with this one.
This one did not work.
No chemo now, maybe later. Chemo almost killed me, so I said no to the doctor. The doctor said, but I'm doing my job. And I said, you know what? I'm doing my job too. And I needed to take care of myself. Now this radiation card I made in, I think it was January, before I got radiation. And it shows that I perceive radiation as this light form of energy that is going to cure me. And it did. Breathing, as I mentioned, meditation is an important piece, the social laying of hands, and this one is self-explanatory.
I got it.
And
that worked?
And that is working quite well. So then there is this other one here which has to do with the two chemos that I took. Making those cards, Jane, was very painful. When I made the cards, way before I started the chemotherapies, making the cards was an experience of disgust, of pain, of contradiction, while radiation was a card that it was delightful to make. So to the point that when I went to see my radiation oncologist, I said to her, I love radiation. And she said, this is the first time I heard any of my patients tell me that. Yes. If I follow, trust my intuition, and I did these cards that represented how I was feeling, also showed what my intuition was telling me. So the dialogue between all the art and myself is critical to this process of healing or health. Because it was by my connection with the radiation oncologist that she actually felt propelled to even do a good research, to the point that when she started radiation, she was giving me palliative radiation. That was for taking care of the pain while I was making sure that all my life is in order for me to depart. But when I say to her, you know, I love radiation, she felt propelled to do a research further down and do a good job. And then she said to me, the area that you were radiated in 2013 is a different area. I can radiate here now with a full blast or full dosage. And that dosage starts shrinking the tumor in a matter of a week.
Shrinking the tumor.
Shrinking the tumor.
We're in the last room, Guillermo.
Yes.
Tell me what this is about.
Well, this is a very important room. This is the cognitive, spiritual room. This room is about symbols and the importance of symbols as the letters of the words that we compose in ourselves. This is the way we communicate with our unconscious. This is the way that we communicate with ourselves at a very deep level. It's through symbols. Everybody dreams. Everybody has these amazing dreams. And those dreams are talking to us. The question is, do we listen to them? So this section has to do with that all of this that we're doing in this life is about learning. So I created this model, it's called the life learning model, which is represented by the bicycle which is behind me. And that I found in a friend of mine, it's a beautiful bicycle. But there is also a story about wings. And this has to do with an encounter with a hawk that was carrying a what's it called? A foot log trap. And it was exhausting. And I encountered behind my house As my neighbor was walking behind this hawk, I stopped my car to say, what is going on here? She pointed out that the hawk was carrying this trap. And I said to the hawk, and my intuition talked really loud, and it said, tell the hawk you will remove the trap. So here I am thinking and saying to the hawk, listen to me. If you trust me, I can remove this trap from you. But you gotta trust me. I was surprised when the hawk leaned back on the snow, opened his wings, and stretched his talons. I wrote a book about it. With and these are that's the book, that's a sample of the book. And these are some of the images that I used when writing the book. For my surprise, the hawk took me seriously. Now, at that moment, and that was where the lesson came, at that moment I needed to trust either my love for the hawk or the fear from all the images from movies and everything else that I have seen about hawks taking people's eyes and ripping people's things and eating something. And I needed to make a choice, and the choice was for love. And I kneeled down, I removed the trap. I checked to see if the talon of the hawk was okay, and it was. And I stepped back, and this image is when I stepped back, and I said, you can come out now. And he regained himself, and he jumped on the stump, and I said, you know, this is amazing. We stood there for what it felt like a long time. Maybe it was only a few seconds, but it felt like a minute or two, which were just in touch with each other in gratitude.
And then he flew off.
And then I said, you know, I've done my job. I've done my job, you're free. So for me, this wing symbolized in the other painting, the first painting. That is,
the parasail.
The parasail. And there's the bicycle behind us.
With the tulips.
With the tulips, and I haven't talked about the tulips, but I will be really fast because that's the other symbol. In the weakest of my moments, when I had no physical energy, my wife Dale brought me some tulips. And I was doing some practices called collecting qi from qigong, which is a Chinese martial arts practice. And you basically do this, and you collect the qi. I was collecting the qi, see if it would work, but then she brought the flowers. And I just went like this with the flowers. And I felt the most amazing experience. It was like somebody was bathing me in warm water. I didn't know that qi was so powerful. I have no clue. Only I needed to be so weak to be able to feel the force of this energy. I did not miss one of my appointments. I walked to the hospital every day, and I got the radiation of the treatments that I had, which were 4 days of treatment. So that for me is using the back wheel to propel myself to make the right choices of what is right in my intuition. So trusting the flowers, opening to the energy of the world is what has made all the difference. So the creative energy is real. And for me, this is proof.
I think this drawing is lovely. It shows that not only do we have to have these 2 cycles, it's good to get a little push from somebody once in a while.
And a little support.
And a little support.
Goes a long ways. It teaches how to ride the bicycle thanks to the help of other people. And that is true. And that for me, that's what I put. This is a photograph actually that was turned into a silver screen. That's why I translated that. I lost the original one, but I took this in 1969 in Bogota, Colombia. And so this is a typical 2 kids, and this one is learning how to ride a bicycle.
Yes.
Which symbolizes what my life learning process is. It symbolizes what the life learning model is all about in soul capture and bicycle. So those symbols keep coming, see? This is what thing when you're in tune with symbols and metaphors, you're in a state of gratitude to what comes to you. You just need to learn to recognize it and accept it. And those are gifts.
Yes.
So
Thank you for the gift that you shared with us today.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I hope that it's helpful for other people.
That's the feedback we're getting. We're getting just extraordinary feedback about how people are just delighted that we have broken it down in ways that they can accept and understand the whole concept of what Dale and I are talking. On the next room, there will be Dale's as a caregiver.
And we'll do that in the next episode.
In the next episode, because this exhibit has grown to become the exhibit of the caregiver and the care receiver.
Guillermo, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. It's been really wonderful. Thank you.
For me as well. Thank you.
Yeah.